Hello and welcome to another short drawing film. It's early December and that means I've just started my Advent series sketches again. I've been doing a picture every day in December for the last 15 years. I never thought I'd do that many years worth, but it's a good way to raise a bit of money for charity, and it's also a good challenge for me just to sit and do a drawing in a particular theme every day. And it's nice to look back on them at the end. This year's theme is vintage hillclimb specials, and I'm doing them all with red water-soluble pencil and toned paper. So the pencil I'm using is a Faber Castell water-soluble pencil. I've been using the Derwent Inktense ones as well, they're quite fun. But yeah, I've just been trying out a few different brands just to see how they compare. The paper's from Canson and it's called Paint On, and it's their natural coloured one. So it's a nice thick kind of card type paper. Sort of, yeah, it's not too rough, not too smooth. Seems to take the watercolours quite well. Doesn't go crinkly when you add the water. So the first step of doing these sketches is just to rough out the proportions very loosely. I try to draw as lightly as I can because the pencil doesn't rub out that well. And working on such a small piece of paper, they're just postcard sized, it's quite easy to draw them in the wrong place and not fit it on. Usually if I work on a slightly bigger piece of paper, and it gives me a bit of leeway to, you know, on the position and stuff, but these, they're really crammed in. So I do sometimes have to rub things out and start afresh. Once I'm happy with the very rough sketch, I can just go in as slightly firmer and add a few details that I left out of the initial sketch. Things like the headlights and wheel arches, that kind of thing. And yeah, it's a matter of just sort of firming things up without going overboard. You know, I don't want to end up drawing an outline around everything and losing that looseness that it's got at the moment. So it's really just trying to make things a bit clearer without going too far. I'm also adding some shading at this point. I'm trying to make some decisions about what's going to be dark and what's going to be light when I add the water. So I'm thinking, well, there's some bits that are obviously going to be deep shadow, like in the radiator and under the car, that kind of thing. And the sides of the car are going to be a little bit darker than the top of the car, which is going to catch the most light. So I was thinking maybe you've got this sort of dark where the radiator is, a bit of light where the top of the bonnet is and the driver is, and then maybe the dust behind could be dark again, so that you get that kind of dark, light, dark effect, and they help each other stand out. So I'm just going to shade the background slightly, add a bit of tone there, ready for when I add the water, which will turn it into a nice wash. So with the shading added, it's now time for the fun part, which is to add some water. I'm using this Pentel water brush, and that allows me just to brush some water over the top of the pencil shading, and you can see it becomes much richer and darker. It does dry a little bit lighter again, so it's not quite as dramatic as it looks when I first add the water. I'm sort of just looking for the really dark bits, and also some of those mid-tones where there'll be a bit less light. Just blending these bits together, trying to get some nice brush strokes in. I'm being very careful to leave a few bits of the paper showing through as well. I think maybe I didn't leave quite enough of it showing through, but it's important that to let the paper do a lot of the work. It's tempting to add a lot of the highlights with the chalk, but really I think it's better if the paper does more of that work and you just use the white highlight pencil very sparingly. So the water's dried, and you can see at this point the sketch looks a little bit wishy-washy. It's kind of, some of the edges have disappeared, some of the things have blended into each other. So, and also there's only sort of two tones really. There's the tone of the paper and this kind of deeper red mid-tone. So it's time to now sort of firm up some of those details again that I've lost, and also to introduce some really dark shadows, just to make the darks pop, just like highlights can, you know, make an image pop. I think the low lights can as well. So I'm just sort of going around trying to find the darkest spots to add a bit of shading, focusing mostly in the foreground stuff, because as stuff gets further away from me, it's going to disappear into the dust, and putting less strong shadows down the back there will help the back of the car recede a bit. And again, I'm trying to be quite careful not to draw a big outline around everything, you know, just try and keep it loose and sketchy. The next stage is to get the white chalk pencil out. I'm using a pencil from Generals. It came with a couple of charcoal pencils, and it seems to work all right. It doesn't like drawing on the red very well, you know, it won't draw there very well. But it goes onto the toned paper quite nicely, so that's why it's important to leave some of that paper showing through, otherwise you can't add your highlights. You can see I use a little blending stump just to soften some of the bits, just to spread the chalk around a little bit and knock it back so it's not completely white. Some stuff like the chrome is obviously going to have some really crisp highlights on, but a lot of it just needs a little bit of a lift just to separate it from the brown of the page. And for the really, really bright highlights, just like at the top of the radiator, I'm going to use that Posca paint pen just to you know, catch those little glints. And that's pretty much it, I think. The last thing, I just need to add my name somewhere not too obtrusive. And I'll take another look at it tomorrow and see if there's any other little details that I've missed or that I think could do with a tweak. But otherwise, I think that's pretty much done. Hope you enjoyed watching the process. Do like and subscribe if you did, and leave a comment, that's always nice. And perhaps even pop over to my Instagram or Facebook pages to see the drawings appear each day. And if you're really keen, get yourself over to my Etsy store where you can buy one of the originals for just £25. I try to do these cheaply just as a way for people to get some original art for a decent price. And otherwise, have a fantastic week, and I'll see you for another film soon.